So I have some questions sent in from a friend. He's wondering if you could answer them for him. He says, I find myself stuck in a recurring cycle. I act wholesomely for a while, then gradually act in minor unwholesome ways, which eventually escalate into more significant acts. Afterwards, I'm filled with regret and return to acting wholesomely, only for the pattern to repeat. And right now, I'm in the regret stage, fully aware that I sabotage myself intentionally. I feel the urge to double down on my efforts to break the cycle, but that's exactly what I always do, and it never seems to lead to real progress. How can I genuinely move forward rather than just going in circles?
Well, the thing is, as a householder living in already compromised environment, going in circles is a way of progressing. So you will not have a clean break because you're not making a clean break from the environment. So that's not, I'm not trying to justify the failure, but I'm just saying it's inevitable. So it's important because sometimes people can get frustrated in a sense of thinking, but surely I must just have a clean determination. They will create like a clean sort of ending of these unwholesome states and ways of acting. It's not going to happen. You're going to build up a determination, you're going to keep up with it, you're going to be restrained, you're going to be paying attention to the intentions behind your actions, and then you're going to fail because you're going to start slipping because the environment is compromising. When you slip, the remorse, the regret, it's part of the progress. So it's important to then not try to psychologize that away and justify, or even worse, fall into a view that, no, I shouldn't be even trying to restrain, I shouldn't be even trying to break this vicious cycle. But it's through going through the vicious cycle internally, you are kind of making the effort. So you can't, unless you change your environment drastically, you will be failing, and you have to accept that you're going to feel miserable on account of it. That will then help you build determination better, that will then help you become even more familiar with your intentions, and then you're going to fail again, and then you're going to repeat, and then you're going to fail again, and then you're going to repeat. And that's how you're actually getting closer to not falling back as much as you used to. Now, do you have time for such a practice? How long can you sustain? Do you have 50 years of that slow progress of constant failure and stuff? It might make some difference by the end of it, but it might not. You might run out of time. So there is that risk as well that you have to accept. So if you can, try and shape your environment as much as you can, so it's supporting, so that when you start slipping, you don't slip as far, because simply you don't have access to things that make you slip as far. You have to foresee that.
So you start to notice the little things that, all these minor acts that you do that lead to this breakdown.
Yeah.
So you try
that add up, and then eventually, when the breakdown starts happening, you have no means of stopping it, because you already built up the momentum from before.
And honesty the whole time, the honest, when I'm watching TV and
entertainment, breaking precepts,
and so on, and then where does that lead eventually?
Well, yeah, all of those reflections will have to be obviously cultivated and factored in. But the thing is, with all of that, as I said, the environment is already compromising. So you will be, even with all the reflections and all the thinking, all the right things, the time will come when it's just going to get too much, and you will just willingly give in. You can be relaxing, you can be focusing, you can be doing this, you could be doing that, all the coping mechanisms, but the point is, the time will come when things build up, none of that will work, and the only reason you're not failing is because there's nothing for you to give into. It's too far. And then by the time you were to reach things you give into, the mind would have changed, and then you wouldn't, passed. Especially in the beginning. So you really need to recognize that environment and foresee when your mind is leading you in that direction, where you're gradually giving in, and then just prevent yourself from ending up in that environment where you have a quick access to things that would compromise the precepts. So it comes down to that physical separation. So things are further removed. Access to entertainment is further removed.
Sure.
Access to things that provoke you to act with lust or anger are further removed when the crisis sets in, and that will actually provide you that will prevent you from falling back as far as you would have otherwise. And that needs to be developed beforehand, recognizing the little signs and features that lead up towards it. But if that's been carefully sort of tailored, shaped, pushed away a bit beforehand, then that will offer you some space.
And so you've got that space, those common things you don't have access to anymore. But you still have access to your body. You still have access to your mind.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, that you can't run away from.
No, and that's like those things you should be developing before it gets too much. Before the mind is too wound up with lust or anger or distraction, before you would have reached the point of acting out and now you're remorseful. So when things are fine, when you have some, as I said, some room for reflection, room for space, room for discerning your intentions and contemplating them, that's which you are recognizing, hold on, yes, okay, now I'm conditionally, temporarily safe because the most pressing sight, sound, smell, taste, touches that would provoke me one way or the other are further removed. But that doesn't mean I'm actually safe. It just means I've kind of postponed the danger. So what do I do now? Well, while I'm safe now, I should definitely be cultivating and discerning that internal relationship with my own body and my own mind and the body. So how does my mind still regard this body as belonging to it? Is my mind still implicitly taking the body to be the source of possible pleasure that is worthy to pursue? Is my mind forgetting the lack of safety that's inherent in this physical form and the body? So those contemplations, that's when you do them. When the mind is just completely wild, doesn't want to listen to you, then you just need a physical separation until it calms down. None of this will work. But of course, yes, if you invest the right effort before the mind winds up itself way too much, it might not wind itself up that much, because these perceptions that you're providing for the mind, unknowability of the body, knowing your intentions, the danger, foreseeing the environment that could compromise you, all of that, it's kind of telling right things to that mind. It's showing it, okay, this is better for you as well, and you will get to see it for yourself. The animal will see for itself that actually, this is factually better than giving in to thirst, passion, anger, distraction, entertainment.
Delighting in the body.
Delighting in the body, yeah. So then, if you are developing that right perspective in regard to your body while you're not kind of acutely pressured, then you get to discern as well. Okay, so mentally, when images and thoughts of sensuality or ill will or cruelty, how the sutta say, or conceit, they come up. In the same sense, sight, sound, smell, taste, touches come up. But am I accepting them? Do I just feel like, they're mine as soon as they come up? Why is that? So that's when you could then introduce that layer of mental purification. And that's also what's going to shift. Initially people's restraint will be mechanical. It's just going to be saying no to stuff. But that's not even the right restraint. That's just how you have to start, sure. But yes, once you said no to certain things, to certain environments, to certain compromising situations, you foresee them, you don't give in, you don't go there. Then by recognizing, so now there is the internal relationship with this body. Is it taken through the sense of ownership, taken as a basis of pleasure, taken as a basis of safety, mastery, control? That's already now the right restraint. In other words, that restraint is now really not anymore like restraint in that blind mechanical manner. It's already a way of purification. That's when the restraint becomes purification. And then same, you recognize what thoughts are coming up, what thoughts are enduring, what thoughts are sort of persisting, what thoughts are kind of indicating the state of the animal, the state of the mind, the state of the citta. Because you wouldn't have thoughts of anger coming up and besetting you, images associated with such thoughts, if the mind is not angry, if the mind is not at least to some degree irritated or resistant. Doesn't matter how ambiguous that mood might be, you could get to discern, okay, so if these are thoughts that are evolving, it's because mind is kind of leaning in that direction. So what do? Well, I need to show the animal, I need to show it that this is not beneficial. So you can't stop the thoughts, but you could then, as we said before, okay, I will not welcome it. Yes, these thoughts keep coming up. I won't allow them to center stage. I won't welcome them. And that's already, see, although it's still like you're restraining the allowance, the delight towards the thoughts, really you're already purifying. You're already sending a message to the animal that's much more than just restraint. That's much more than just saying no. Because the sole reason the animal is still wild is because you were welcoming such thoughts, welcoming the root of the problem, welcoming the sense of ownership, lust, aversion, whenever. When these thoughts come up, you don't see an option for them to not be delighted in. And that's also why people fall into that trap of trying to deny or replace thoughts. They don't see the mind behind it. Any thought is not a problem in itself. It's a problem of the state of the mind of the animal that's implicit in it. So that's why if your sole concern is to replace the thoughts, the state of the animal doesn't change. Because you haven't even seen it to begin with. So say mind is angry, you start having angry thoughts, and then as a result of that, you want to replace those thoughts and think positive thoughts on account of an angry mind. And that's it. And you have not seen you have not conveyed the message that the mind, the animal, the citta can understand. But if such thoughts are coming up, or thoughts of sensuality, you can't have thoughts of sensuality if the mind is not leaning towards delighting and craving the sensual pleasures. But that's not your problem directly. It's not that you are doing that. You're a victim of it in a way. But given that it's just you and the mind, whether you're a victim or not on paper, you are the one who pays the price. So you want to start taking responsibility of it. Yes, I'm not doing this. It's the mind doing it. But it doesn't absolve me from tolerating it. That's the point. Because it's only me that's going to be affected by this. So then I won't tolerate it. So how you not tolerate it? Well, when sensual thoughts are coming up, you recognize, okay, so the mind is sensual. Even if the sensual thoughts stop coming up, even if you replace them with whatever, you still know, hold on, but those thoughts wouldn't have come up if the animal is not already wanting that. So even if you replace the thoughts or not, it was not about the thoughts, it was about the state of the mind behind it. So that's why it's like, okay, so when these thoughts are coming up, I won't just blindly welcome them, accept them, try to get rid of them, or indulge them even worse. I will not lose the sight of the mind behind it. And as I said before, when those thoughts are coming up in regard to sensuality and ill will, you already know where they would lead, what those thoughts will crystallize towards. So the point is then to like, okay, so there is this pressure, there is the inclination to allow thoughts that will become sensual, to allow thoughts that will become ill will, or conceit, or cruelty, or any associated with any hindrance. That's what I won't do. By not allowing that last drop, last focus on, this is the thought, I'm taking it up, literally by unfocusing from that degree, you are staying on the level where your mind is. You are staying with the level where the animal is. And then you get to see how the animal is really wanting you to accept these thoughts. And by not accepting them, you are conveying the message. The only reason animal is still trying to present you with his thoughts is because you've been inadvertently always accepting them. So it works. It knows it works. And then you start acting towards it, and then you start feeding the animal with unsuitable food. And in the end, he got what he wanted.
So
it made you act.
Yeah. So by not accepting those thoughts, you're saying it gets the message
that it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. That doesn't
Yeah. And that's the similes, so many similes in the suttas where the Buddha gave, like, the jackal and the turtle. It surrounds the turtle, and it's like, you can't escape it. You can't escape. You are surrounded. You and the wild animal, that's all there is, from your point of view, as far as you're concerned. So you can't, I'll just go elsewhere and leave the jackal behind. No. And the simile goes on, the turtle, if it tries to, extend its limbs and escape, the jackal will get it. Doesn't matter if I extend the limb to approve the jackal or to push it away, I'm going to get bitten. That's all he wants. He wants an engagement. So the whole simile is about not extending the limbs until the jackal goes away. In this case, the jackal is the wild animal. So you should not act by body, by speech, mentally allowing the center stage of thoughts that you know what they will crystallize to words, until the mind behind it doesn't change. Until the mind behind it does not turn away from what he wanted. And when he does, then you're fine. Then you can walk away because the jackal has left. But if your sole concern is to just mechanically deny thoughts, replace them, go through the visualizations and stuff, that still means you're identifying animal with your thoughts. You don't even see the difference. You haven't even seen the citta for what it is. And that's why there will be no development. That's why even the sense restraint will not turn into purification. It's just going to become mechanical. It's just going to remain mechanical, saying no to stuff.
It won't turn into purification.
It won't become purification, no.
So it's sense restraint to see where the real dirt is.
Well, sense restraint done rightly becomes basically purification by body, speech and mind.